Hey everyone, I'm Lucy and I love Mass Effect. Now, as you can imagine, I'm very excited about the Legendary Edition that's coming up, but it's not going to be out for a few weeks. So in order to get my fix, I've actually gone back to playing Andromeda and I've been rewatching the trailer for the brand new Mass Effect. And as someone who has loved and played the games, I am really excited about the franchise's future. And I was thinking about what the brand new game could take from the old games, as well as the changes that I would love to see BioWare make. So that's why I'm making this video. Yes, it's an excuse to talk about Mass Effect, but I love it, so that's why we're making this video. If you're excited about Mass Effect 2, then please subscribe. We've got so much more in the pipeline in the run-up to the Legendary Edition and beyond. You're not going to want to miss it. Anyway, that's a long preamble. Let's get into what we want to see in the brand new Mass Effect. We know that the next Mass Effect is a sequel of sorts. In the trailer, we get to see two galaxies, one of which is the Milky Way, the other one is probably the Andromeda galaxy. We see an older Liara walking along the dead body of a Reaper. Now that one was confirmed by BioWare, and of course she picks up something with N7 on it. Beyond just emails from Liara and Easter eggs, Andromeda was pretty tightly connected to Mass Effect trilogy. Spoilers for the ending of Andromeda, but I don't know, your mileage may vary on how big of a spoiler this is. It's something that you kind of had to dig for, but the true purpose of the Andromeda Initiative was to save Milky Way civilizations from the Reapers by sending them millions of light years away so that they would hopefully never be found. It's been theorized that the initiative was actually secretly funded by the Elusive Man, which has never really quite sat right with me because I don't understand why he, who is always humanity first, would put money and resources into saving all of the civilizations, but I digress. And that was just an example of just one of the threads that Andromeda left hanging. You know, we don't really understand what happened to the Quarian arc beyond what was written about in a spin-off book and not the DLC. We don't understand why the Ket and the Reapers are actually quite similar in the way that they like to assimilate and harvest other civilizations. Who was the benefactor? Who was the murderer? There's a lot of this stuff left hanging. And so with the dead Reaper and Liara's more aged appearance, it's pretty clear that this game is going to be taking place after the events of the original trilogy. So what I want to know is what happened to the Milky Way beyond what we saw in the extended cut endings. And most importantly, is BioWare going to be making any of the endings canon? From the looks of things, with a dead Reaper and a destroyed Mass Effect relay, it looks like they might be making Destroy canon, but who knows? Maybe that was just for this trailer. So I want to know what happened in the Milky Way after the events of the trilogy, and I want those loose threads from Andromeda tied up. So the new Mass Effect, I really hope, takes the two eras of Mass Effect and just, I don't know, brings them together. But saying that, I think Commander Shepard's time is done. Their arc was fantastic, but to me, it is finished. I know that Liara is there and she's picking up a piece of N7 armor, which everyone's thinking like, oh, maybe they're bringing Commander Shepard back and it's going to be Lazarus Project 2.0. But I actually kind of really hope that they don't do that. I want to see a new Mass Effect through a new character's eyes. Maybe the new character is someone who isn't even a Spectre. Maybe it's someone who doesn't have the weight of the galaxy and the hopes of millions on their shoulders. Maybe it's someone who's not even human. That would be super cool. One thing I genuinely hope that BioWare doesn't do is bring Commander Shepard back, but have them as a side character. Now they did that with Hawk in Dragon Age Inquisition, so Hawk was a playable character in Dragon Age 2, and it just felt really weird to have Hawk there alongside you and listening to their voice and not be the person controlling them. I spent dozens of hours with my Hawk and it just felt very strange to me, so I don't want that to happen with Commander Shepard. And from a narrative standpoint, I don't even understand how BioWare would import Shepards in. Think about your time with the trilogy. That's hundreds of little decisions and dialogue options. They're all nuanced, and so I don't understand how BioWare could do that to account for everyone's experience unless they just wiped the slate clean or brought over the big decisions. But if you're going to do that, then why bother bringing Shepard at all? I've seen a few people say that they might like to play as Liara, but I can see her having the same issues narratively too, so maybe just start afresh with a brand new character. All the hubbub and excitement around the Legendary Edition has led to this resurgence in interest in older Mass Effect games and how they were made. And one such piece over at The Gamer by Kian Ma talks about the cut races that were supposed to be in Mass Effect Andromeda. It's actually quite a heartbreaking piece because it turns out that BioWare were only given the budget for 2 new races, and you could argue that they were actually pretty similar. One of my favorite parts of the original trilogy was those alien races, and just how well BioWare introduced them, made references to their past and status, and their general disdain of humans.
Why do you bother, Kalen? These Earth Clan don't really care about our ways.
Remorseful response, Din. You don't truly believe that, and if you do, I am very sorry for you.
I loved learning about their history and their customs, and each race looked, felt, and sounded distinct. By the time you get to the Citadel in Mass Effect 1 and you see them all interacting with each other, it feels like the melting pot of the galaxy that it's supposed to be, which is why Andromeda was such a disappointment to me in that regard, because you crash land in this brand new galaxy and the first new exciting alien species you meet, the first thing you do is shoot them. Well, the first thing they did was shoot you, but whatever. The Angara were cool, but the fact that there were a bunch of races missing for narrative reasons, like the Quarian and the Drell, meant that Andromeda just didn't feel as populated. And I know the Quarian arc stuff was meant to be for DLC that never materialized, but still, it was a disappointment. And that's why I really, really hope that in a new Mass Effect, we'll get to see more alien races. If we're talking about combat throughout the games, each has its highs and lows. There's a lot to be said about Mass Effect 1's combat. It was pretty clunky, but it did have those deep RPG roots, which I loved. Mass Effect 2 was more of a mix between action and RPG. You could easily issue commands to your squad, but general movement didn't feel as smooth as it could have. Mass Effect 3 is fast, frenetic, every class can use every weapon, and there's more of an emphasis on combos. It's probably my favorite of the lot. Andromeda felt a bit floaty to me, and as someone who is more of a methodical player, being unable to control my squad mates' power usage and stuff just wasn't it for me. I didn't really enjoy that. I like having control. I would genuinely love to see Mass Effect take a more Dragon Age approach and let you directly control, assuming direct control of your squad mates during fights. I also think that if you make the classes feel a bit more distinct, that would be really cool, because otherwise, you might pick a class that you think sounds interesting, but you're not really enjoying after 20 hours or so. I know you can respec and everything, but that would really give it an element of fun on the fly, switching and experimentation. I'd be interested to know how you all feel about the more open world aspects of Mass Effect Andromeda, because upon replaying the game, I've just found out that I don't particularly enjoy it, and actually thinking back, I don't think I enjoyed the more open world parts of the original Mass Effect either. And it's not because I hate piloting the Mako. I am a Mako apologist. I don't mind that clunky old thing. But when you compare 1 to 2 and 3, where the level design was way much more straightforward, it's night and day, because I'm not just driving around looking at a compass at the top of my screen like I am in Andromeda, hoping to find something interesting. So I'm not saying that I wouldn't like to see an open world Mass Effect. I genuinely think that could be really interesting if it was something the scale of Red Dead 2 or Skyrim. I just think that if you're gonna make a Mass Effect game that's open world, it has to be packed with stuff that justifies that size. So I'm not talking about Dragon Age Inquisition, where I'm, collecting shards around the hinterlands. I can't do that. Again, if you're gonna make these levels big and huge, there has to be stuff in there to justify it. I can't collect shards again. Please don't make me. This is an obvious one, but it's a topic that's definitely worth bringing up when it comes to Mass Effect. Javik being Day 1 DLC sucked. He was an integral part of that game. He should never have been carved out and sold separately. He should have just been in it. Andromeda's case with Quarian arc is similar but different. Obviously they left that thread dangling because they thought it was going to be in DLC and it would be resolved that way, but that DLC was cancelled and that storyline was kind of resolved in a book, sort of. What I'm saying is, please, keep DLC. I'm not saying get rid of DLC. I'm saying please don't take things from the main storyline and carve them out to be DLC, because we the players feel that as we're playing. It's obvious, and it just leads to resentment, honestly. And so I really don't want to see that in the new Mass Effect. I mean, you can talk about things like Lair of the Shadow Broker and Citadel, but I would argue that those cases are very different because they're not integral to the main storyline of Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. They are nice little side stories whose outcomes don't feed into the main ending, right? They're just more opportunities to get to know your squad mates a little bit better. So like I said, keep DLC. I enjoy DLC. It means that I can revisit a game that I loved and play it longer and experience more stories in that world. But if you're gonna make DLC, please just don't take it from the main story and sell it to me separately. Paragon and Renegade need a bit of a rework, and I guess technically speaking they would actually need a reintroduction because they weren't in Andromeda. I digress. When you look back at the original trilogy, some of the dialogue options would result in pretty out of line responses. And I think one thing that it didn't really take into consideration was that not every decision or dialogue choice was black or white. You know, sometimes you want to get into a nice little gray area. And speaking from experience, when I first played Mass Effect 1, I didn't commit fully either way, and I lost Rex on Vermeer because of that, and I still feel guilty. And I just really would have loved that wiggle room to hopefully try and save my squad mate. Andromeda's response to this was to remove Paragon and Renegade completely, and instead what you would do is you would sort of change the tone of the conversation, which I actually really liked. I thought that was very cool. But I also like having an overarching system that's kind of tallying up my morality, and then that directly affects dialogue options and choices that I can make later on in the game. So I would love to see some kind of mesh between the two. I think that would be really cool and would work. And I'm definitely not saying please bring back the glowing scars from Mass Effect 2. I just, you know, I want people to know that I'm a badass or a really great, nice person, you know? Alright, I've talked about Mass Effect for long enough. My throat hurts, I'm gonna be stopping, but if you like Mass Effect, then we have a bunch of stuff right here on the channel. We have an interview with Mac Walters about the cut characters from Mass Effect 2. We have a granular breakdown of the changes coming to the Legendary Edition. John Luke made a really cool side-by-side of scenes from the original trilogy and the Legendary Edition, so if you're interested in all that, make sure to like this video and subscribe. And let me know what you think of the things that I pointed out today. What are your feelings about a brand new Mass Effect? Let me know. I'm gonna be all up in those comments because you know me, I love talking about Mass Effect. I'm on Twitter if you want to hang out with me there. I'm over at Lucy James Games. I'll see you next time.